remember me, these niggas got logging. All them bullets we was dodging, shit ain't never phased us. Mothers thinking we too streakers, we don't play about our brothers. Now some of them got baby mothers, it's on go for the gist. A nigga trip, stick, kick, whole wig getting split. My whole heart up in this shit, that's on gang and that's on me. You see them, then you see me. I never gloated with this shit, they say I'm goated, been legit. Candy coated, color whip, never navigating like a blind man with a stick. I was lost, they can't had nowhere to go. Neon came through with the flow, you know Kool-Aid gon' count that dough. Lord Bobo from me door, he fucked around and turned up. Got my 2 sisters and little brother on my mother, swear I love him. Extended family, big as hell, I got 100 cousins. Pulling up like Omo Naja, I know these bitches gon' love. And you could near get up on me, I'm steady tucked like a cubby dummy. Whole hard in the trenches, nigga ask me what I'm
Neon, man. Hey, fellas, I told that man, I said I'm gonna play that shit every fucking week. I told him that.
Bro, just know.
What up?
Was hard, bro. I didn't even hear that joint until I heard that the episode come out.
You said what that? Oh, the his joint?
Yeah, I didn't even hear anything on it until you dropped the episode.
Yeah, bro, that joint is tough. I'm trying to work with him on something else too, so fingers crossed things go well. I'm keeping it under wraps until he can actually, come through on his side. But you know what I'm saying, we'll see how that works out. Yeah,
I mean, you kind of just said it though at the same time.
What I say? What I say?
No, bro. Go ahead, bro. Do you think? It's your show. I'm just a guest, baby.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I've been writing my bars for 2 weeks, bro. I'm trying to get in the studio with that man.
Oh my God! Please don't embarrass
Hey, come on, man. Hey, listen. Henny Mual goes for a variety of reasons, bro. I'm a shooter. I'm a rapper. You know what I'm saying? And then,
Stop it.
All right, man. All right. Welcome back to another episode of Trap or Die Podcast. For everybody who's tuning in live, we appreciate you. Everybody listen to the podcast, all that good stuff. Appreciate you. Obviously, make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you didn't hear the Fred Smoot interview, and Big Doug had them on yesterday, and obviously everything's on YouTube. Everything's on the podcast site or the podcast app too. So check that out. And yeah, let's go ahead and get into tonight. Now that we took care of that, we are focusing on the NFC East tonight. Last week was the AFC East. And here to chop it up with us, we have a few people coming on. Conor Myles, he covers the Philadelphia Eagles for Sports Illustrated and is the co-host of the Eagles Unfiltered podcast. And then we have Jalen Morgan. Jalen is the content creator for the Washington football team as well. He hosts a podcast too, Bleeding Burgundy and Gold. And then later in the show, probably about a half an hour or so, RJ Ochoa is joining us, and he covers the Dallas Cowboys for the SB Nation blog site. So definitely looking forward to all that good stuff. And tonight, it does look like Conor is on. I just, for some reason, I saw a seat. Yeah, there you go. So fellas, I said RJ, Jalen and Conor, how are y'all feeling tonight, man? Everything good with you all?
I'm good, man. What's up? How are you?
Yeah, I'm ready for football season.
Absolutely.
Sure.
I think we all are, man. We got a couple teams that's starting this week, so we're not too far away. Like Washington's next week. Conor, when does Philly's training camp start?
Next week.
Okay, so next week too.
Almost there.
Okay, yeah, man. So we're all here, man. Waiting for that one time where once that football is snapped and we get the videos, we see football continuously up until February. Like I can't wait for that shit. Conor, let me ask you this as we get started, right? Because I know you have some obligations as well, so we're not going to be able to have you on the full time. I want to get this out of the way. Now that Carson Wentz, the era in Philly has ended, the drama has surely ended within the fan base, right? There's no more drama in Philly, right?
Oh no, there's plenty of drama. I mean, nobody wanted to see Carson Wentz go out that way, and I mean, it is still crazy. It's still crazy to digest. That's how it went. But I mean, Washington football team fans probably have a similar experience with RG3 because that's kind of how the experience went. Carson glimpsed greatness, and then this was injuries, and then he was a middle of the pack quarterback, and then he came out last year and looked like the worst quarterback in the NFL. So it's just a whirlwind of craziness since the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and now they're looking like, unfortunately, the worst team in the division. It's really tough to swallow, but I mean, between them and the Giants, they're battling for last place right now.
So what was your full opinion on Carson? I mean, this is his first year removed from Philly. What was your full opinion in terms of his tenure in Philly versus just not just one particular year? How did you feel about that, man?
I was one of his advocates, I would say. I did think that he was a good quarterback, good franchise quarterback for this team. But at the end of the day, your availability is what matters the most. It doesn't matter how good you are. If you're not on the football field for 16, well, now going to be 17 games, you're not much useful to your football team. And even that's especially for the quarterback position. I mean, Nick Foles caught lightning in a bottle, but you're not going to get that year in and year out. And not to have your quarterback play every season and always have that worry that you need to get this backup quarterback. It was in the back of the Eagles' minds that they needed a talented backup quarterback. That's what forced the Jalen Hurts pick at the time because they knew they couldn't rely on Carson Wentz to play. And then the whole thing went to hell pretty much because Carson got offended that they took Jalen Hurts. The locker room shifted. It's just a mess. So, I mean, the truth is, Carson really showed Eagles fans who he really was. He's not a quarterback that can be a franchise caliber quarterback. He's not a quarterback that can elevate your team. He's the kind of guy that he can win with him, yes, but things need to go right around him. And when things don't go right, you see what happened last year.
Fellas.
So, question.
There you go, Ryan. Yep. Go ahead.
No, I just had a question about Carson Wentz moving forward. I mean, I had other questions, but now that we want to talk about Carson Wentz, with him moving on to the Colts, I just want your opinion on how you think he is faring with moving back with Frank Wright, back in the same offense. How do you think he will do out in Indianapolis?
I think he's going to do well. I really do think he's going to do well because it's a huge thing to have a coach that not only knows you as a player but as a person on and off the field. So having that and that offensive line, the Eagles have a good offensive line. It's talent top to bottom, but there's always injuries among it. Those guys are really old. The Colts, Quentin Nelson, Ryan Kelly, Braden Smith, the guys that they have on the left side are pretty darn good too, but there's consistency among that. And that's what Carson Wentz needs the most. So I think he's going to fare well with the Colts. But again, he's going to show at some point in time he can't elevate the team around him. Everything's going to have to click and go right, just like how it did in 2017. We do credit Carson Wentz for that MVP season, how well he played, but the rushing game was top 3 in the NFL. The defense was getting turnovers. The pressure was insane. Like everything was going right for the Eagles that season for him to play that well. When things are out of structure, he's a middle of the pack quarterback, and if things are out of structure in Indianapolis, you're going to see the same result because I think he's going to his 6th year now. Not many things are going to change in year 6, even if he's back with Frank Reich. I mean, I love that everybody gives Frank Reich so much credit because and leaves Doug Peterson out of it when Doug Peterson probably played a bigger role in Carson Wentz's career than Frank Reich did. But it's good that he's back together again. It is a coach that knows him well, but again, the Colts defense has to play up to par. That rushing attack has to be as good as it usually is for them to get the best out of Carson Wentz.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, it sounds like you think Carson Wentz is going to do well, but at the end of the day, he's going to fall short of the mark. I mean, that sounds good to me.
I'm trying to
it sounds great to me.
It
sounds. That's what I got out of all that. He just that's pretty. He executed that excellently. I felt like
Ryan, you was a little nervous.
Like
You was asking that question, Ryan. I heard your voice shake. I heard your voice shake a little when you first asked the question because you didn't know.
Jalen Collins, for those who know, I'm a Titans fan, so excuse me if I'm objective.
I'm not really
bro, you put any quarterback on that Eagles team, bro, they're gonna look just like Carson Wentz did, bro. I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? We cannot take that. We cannot put that blame on Carson, bro. The Eagles was trash all around, bro. I don't think he need everything to go right. I don't think he need everything to go right to be a good quarterback, bro. We can't take away from what he was doing when he first came in the league, bro. That's just my personal opinion. And I think he's gonna go to the Colts. He got a bomb squad, offense and defense. And I feel like even if he do need to win a couple games, Wentz can get it done, bro. And he going to get it done. And you gonna be a witness. You gonna be there to believe it this year, right?
Let's save that. Let's save all this until RJ hops on, because this is that's some quality talk right there. All right.
Oh,
so Jalen, man, one of the things when Conor agreed to come on, we were going to talk about a few things with like how Philly ended up turning out last year up until this year and the things that transpired. it's crazy to see a team who's had the most off the field and on the field drama in Washington eliminate at least one of those issues, right? Like it's no more football drama. Like everything is all about, you know what I'm saying, how can the team improve roster wise? We have a plan in place. We have the structure that we want to get together. Like that stuff is incredible in that type of way. In your opinion, man, just speak to like the transition that Washington has made from Ron, and obviously as we're getting ready for camp, but in his second year, but just the transition that he's made to this point, eliminating all of the noise.
Definitely. It's been a drastic change. You know, I'm about to be 26, so I can remember being a Washington football fan for about 20 years, and I've been scoring, right? Like that's like right when the Snyder era started, and I've been scoring. But you know, when we brought in Ron, you know, January 2020, I can remember in that press conference they just kept using the term coach-centric approach, and you know, it's kind of out of Dan's character, but like he's been holding up with his word. You know, he's been letting Ron handle things, and I think that the reason that, you know, all the on-field issues are no more is because we actually have football guys handling those issues now. Football guys are handling football things. We haven't had that in about 20 years. So I think that's the biggest reason for the drastic turnaround, and I'm honestly excited for it. You know, Ron did so much in his first year dealing with, you know, his cancer, the quarterback saga, the name change. It was just so much he had to deal with. I think that he got a couple of those things off his plate, and he's just going to keep moving forward.
What's your confidence level in the man Ron? I mean, we're only a year and a half in at this point. I reiterate to a few people who's hopped on the show already. Like, it's not whether it's his fault or whether it's like things out of his means. He is on his fifth quarterback already, and he ain't even start year 2 yet. But just in general, like what's your grade if you had to give one on Ron? Like, where are you at with him?
His grade so far, all right. So I think I have like a unique perspective. Some of my closest family members actually live in Charlotte, and like they're like the biggest Carolina Panthers fans. So I've actually been in touch with like what the Panthers been doing for like the last decade. And you know, I never was a big Rivera guy as far as the X's and O's. But I always thought, you know, one of the biggest aspects that a coach can have in the NFL is the ability to galvanize, you know, a group of men. So, you know, you do have to weigh his strong suits with his negatives. I don't think that even early last season, he was showing some, you know, schematic challenges, like, you know, some game management challenges and things like that. So if I was giving it on a scale of 1 to 10, I would probably say so far, I would, not to be too bullish, give it about a 7 or 8 because he is dealing with he was dealing with trash, you know, and he is turning it around. Yeah, he is turning it around. Would like to see some more, you know, innovation as far as schematics and things on the field, but as far as like that ability to get the whole team to revolve around, you know, his message and his motto and what he's ready to do, he's passing with flying colors so far.
Okay, so Connor, man, we talked about Carson for a second, but Jalen Hurts is in. He's in. He's had 4 games already, and now he's preparing to be the starter for at least 2021, right? What's the perception surrounding Hurts in Philly after his 4 games, and then obviously heading into his new season as the starter?
Still has to prove himself. I mean, everybody on that team has to prove themselves now since this is a coaching staff and everything's going to be completely different. But, you know, my colleague, John McMahon at SI, reported multiple times that they're going to be in on Deshaun Watson. So I don't really know what Jalen Hurts can possibly do to win this team over to the point where they get Deshaun Watson out of their minds, but they have the ammunition to go ahead and get him. They potentially have 3 first-round picks. Even if they don't have 3 first-round picks, they have 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks. So really, they're going to be in the Deshaun Watson market. It's hard for me to get excited or to be hyped about Jalen Hurts when I really think he's a placeholder until this Deshaun Watson situation clears up, because the Eagles are going to be on him 100%. But the hope is, you know, Jalen Hurts goes out there in the meantime, shows them that he is a special quarterback, because, you know, Howie Roseman was a big fan of him. Ever since the Senior Bowl, he was all in on Jalen Hurts. That's when he decided he was going to drive Jalen Hurts. So he thinks he's going to be a special quarterback. If he can prove any type of special play, then he's all in on that. So then they may move on and suggest that they're going to stick with him and build around him with all that draft capital they have. But from all lights and purposes, if this situation clears up with Deshaun Watson, they're going to go all in on him. So it's a really unfair situation for Jalen Hurts, which was an unfair situation for him coming in. But the next question is, would he be part of the package to Houston and then be the answer to Houston against Davis Mills? We'll see. But if the situation with Deshaun Watson clears up and he's able to play this season, which I doubt it, I think he's going to face some sort of suspension. Then the Eagles are going to see what they have in Jalen Hurts, and we'll see how it goes. But those 4 games that he showed, at least he won the team over. That's the biggest thing. The stats weren't gaudy or anything. The Arizona game was probably his most impressive performance by far, really. I mean, he looked insane. And then he beat the Saints, their number one run defense, and he put 100 rushing yards on them. So, I mean, there is something that, there is a lot of impressive traits to take away from him. I do think he can be I don't want to say a special quarterback, but he can be a franchise caliber quarterback in this league. He has the traits you want to be as a franchise starter, but when Deshaun Watson's available, he's a top 5 talent quarterback, and this stuff clears up, the Eagles are going to be involved 100%. So he's up there and prove that he can play like a top 10 quarterback day in and day out for this team and really evolve this Nick Sirianni offense and make it into his own for his GM to really change his mind and get out of Deshaun Watson out of his head. But as of now, it seems like he's just a placeholder until they are able to get Deshaun Watson.
So you say top. Go ahead, Ryan.
Nah, that's what I was about to say. I'm a big Devontae Smith fan. And I just wanted to know what your opinion is of what you've seen from him so far. And Cam, I know it's been a short time, but just your observation of what you've seen and what you thought about the pick. At 6 right there. I know you all need a receiver anyway, but I just want to know what you thought about picking him at that spot over the other receivers.
Not even just needed a receiver, needed a dominant receiver, a number 1 wide receiver, because they have a bunch of 2 and 3s on this team asking them to be number 1s, and they failed miserably at doing so. So that's what's different about Devontae Smith. He sets himself head and shoulders above the rest immediately when he walks in the door, and it was noticeable right away. I mean, the kid's. I would not be surprised the next Marvin Harrison. He plays just like Marvin Harrison played the receiver position. I mean, it's not every day you see a Heisman Trophy winning wide receiver, especially at Alabama where Judy, Waddle, Ruggs all were with him, and he still looked like the best receiver on that team. I mean, it's just insane. And he comes into Philadelphia with, it is mediocre talent at receiver at this point, if that. A lot of unproven guys, and he goes up there and he's making acrobatic catches. He's running around like a seasoned veteran that those guys are not even close to in terms of their development running. It's going to make their jobs a lot easier. It's going to make Sirianni as a rookie head coach his job a lot easier. If you have such a polished receiver already come in from day one as a rookie receiver, I wouldn't be surprised if he contributes to the Eagles the way Odell did as a rookie. And Jalen Hurts and him already have chemistry. They already have the chemistry there. So they continue to work with each other. They have the same agent. I know they're barely at Alabama. Did they have time? So I'm not going to exaggerate on that one a bit. But they have been side by side ever since he got drafted. So I think the usage will be there right off the bat to have that type of impact that Odell did as a rookie. But I mean, again, he's going to get so much attention from the corners. It's going to be up to Dallas Goedert to really step up, and Travis Fulgham or Jalen Reagor to help him out when he gets all that attention. But as of right now, he is everything as advertised. He looks like that number 1 wide receiver the Eagles needed.
So you mentioned obviously new head coach, rookie head coach Nick Sirianni, and fellas, I think we all know, and this is me being nice. He didn't have the most impressive introduction. Press conference. Like, this is me being nice with it, you know what I'm saying? For obvious reasons, right? I don't think that gives fans confidence at first glance when you're looking at your new head coach. But Connor, in your opinion, how is Nick been since then? Like, are you all starting to see his vision as a type of coach that he can be for the Eagles? Like, has things been a little bit more clear now that he got the intro out the way?
No, you do, but you also it still sits and resonates that, nobody interviewed him. Probably was not going to get an interview if it wasn't for the Eagles, and if it wasn't for Frank Reich being his mentor. So, it's still a wait and see approach because he is saying the right things now. He sounds like a guy who loves football, but I mean, every single coach in the NFL loves football, or they wouldn't be a coach. So, I mean, everything on paper is starting to pick up. You're starting to like what he's saying, and his press conference is a lot better than his introductory press conference. He definitely deserves a chance, but like when we scratched our heads when the Giants hired Joe Judge and thought that was a funny hire, you have to do the same here. You can't be a hypocrite because this guy nobody heard of him until the Eagles had him for his interview. Nobody knew who he was, and very inexperienced as an offensive coordinator. Not only that, he's never called plays before. So it's going to be Eagles fans are already thinking, which I understand. There is optimism around this team. But I mean, there's no way they could even get to the wild card with him. But he's just so raw, and this team is just so raw around him. This is going to be like a 3 to 4 year plan with him at the helm. This isn't something that you're going to see trickle down right away. Like you're not going to see him come out the gate like the Eagles did in 2016 and go 3-year no to start off the bat and then fizzle out after. I don't think it's going to even be anything close to that. He's going to have to get a feel for the game because he's never called plays before, and that's a huge thing. And then he hired everybody else he hired on his coaching staff never called plays before either. The defense coordinator did it. So it's going to be tough. It is going to be a tough transition for these guys.
Shout out to Sleezo, man. Sleezo just checked in talking about put some respect on the Eagles. You know what I'm saying?
Get out of here,
I'm about to say, well, first off, welcome to the stream. You know, we ain't about to kick him out, Rick. You know what I'm saying? But we got somebody in here to speak some truth.
We got enough Eagles fans in here right now.
Hey, I mean, they're trying. I'm not gonna lie. I think if Carson Wentz gets them a first round pick and Jalen Hurts pans out and looks like he plays the part, they have 3 first round picks. Hard not to be excited about that. That's long term success. No, I mean they gotta actually make those picks the right picks. That's easier said than done lately, but I mean those are still 3 first round picks to be really excited about.
So, Jalen, we mentioned earlier how refreshing it is for Washington to kind of be second fiddle, just regarding the drama that's been coming out of the division football-wise. There are not many question marks surrounding the roster if you let fans speak. But I'm gonna ask you, do you agree with the fan base? Is this roster has it minimized in terms of question marks? And once you get past that question, do you think it's like a top 10, top 12 roster in the league? Like, where's your head at with how this roster is shaped up?
Absolutely. I think ESPN had us ranked 12th, and I think that's kind of appropriate. Like you said, there's not many weaknesses on this roster right now, and the biggest presumed weakness is the quarterback position. Now, that is the most important position, so that is why I wouldn't have us ranked anywhere near the top 5, but anywhere between 8 to 12, I think that's very appropriate. You don't really see too many. You really don't see too many teams with only one glaring weakness, and like I said, it is the most important. So they're not ranked amongst the elite yet, but if Fitzmagic, catches a hot streak like he's known to do, he can put it all together. He can put it all together.
Let's hear it. What you got?
Now I'm gonna just say one thing for right now, because at first I was about to stop. I was about to just turn my ears off for a second, but he said Fitzmagic, so Show him a little bit of love because that's my guy. Fitz is my guy. How do you feel about? Do you think Fitz can win enough games? I don't know if you answered. I think you answered both of Mual's questions, but if you didn't, afterwards, I want to know how you feel about Fitz. Can Fitz do enough to win the division?
Absolutely. I think when you look at Ryan Fitzpatrick's career, his career needs to come with a lot of context. He's been dealing with a lot of politics. He's somebody that he's dealt with, bringing in his teams, bringing in rookie quarterbacks and them being heavily invested in those quarterbacks. I look at like a season. I know a lot of people, when they talk about his best year, they go back to that 2015 year with the Jets. Yep. But I look at even like a short span that he had, like the beginning of 2018. The man threw for nearly 1,300 yards in his first 3 games. And in week 4, he's on a short leash, right? So he's never had the freedom that he's really going to have in Washington. And I think that you're pairing him with, arguably one of his best supporting cast. I know like that year with the Buccaneers, he had like a Deshaun Jackson, Mike Evans, a young Chris Godwin. And then before that with the Jets, he had, Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker, who were good players, but they weren't necessarily dynamic. So you pairing them with, three guys on the offense with sub 4. No. B. Marsh, absolutely. They were those dudes. But, like, those dudes, at the end of the day, they still are receivers running 4.5s and 4.6s, right? Like, don't get me wrong. B. Marsh might be a Hall of Fame receiver.
Are you talking about all-around type with the height, weight, speed type thing?
Yeah, explosion. I'm just talking about explosion and big play potential. You're pairing him with, like I said, 3 guys with sub 4.4 speed and Curtis Samuel, Antonio Gibson, and Terry McLaurin. Like, that's going to be scary. If you look at, I know you can't put too much weight into PFF context and PFF stats, like things like that, but he was the best deep ball thrower last year. And you pair him with Curtis Samuel, who was the best deep ball receiver as far as efficiency, like, that's a match made in heaven. And if you go back to the college PFF stats, De'Ami Brown was the best deep ball receiver in college. So I think that you're just pairing him. Yeah, I think you're just pairing him with guys that, suit his skill set, and I think that he's capable of giving you enough to win the NFC East for sure.
So, Connor, I know you got 5 more minutes with us. So
I can respect that.
Yeah,
I can respect that.
It's balanced, man.
I respect it too. I mean, I can't
that.
believe they got Curtis Samuel and Terry McLaurin and
that's definitely about to be nasty.
That is insane. And Antonio Gibson. That's a lot.
That's about to be a nasty goal pick.
So
you can't let Fitz sit back there. I'm telling you right now, you're gonna bring heat on that boy.
No, not at all. So let me ask you, Connor, before you get up out of here. It's two questions, but I'll hit you with the first one first. The strengths and weaknesses on the Philly roster heading into 2021. Where are you most concerned, and where are you most confident heading into this year with this team?
Everywhere.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I'm concerned about a lot of things.
Man.
The most confident is pass rush, though. I mean, the pressure's gonna get in your face no matter what. Ryan Kerrigan's gonna get some kind of juice. I know he was on the way out with Washington. I understand why. Montez Sweat
they got him
and Chase Young are too much, but Ryan Kerrigan's gonna provide a spark with the Eagles. Josh Sweat is gonna be the ascending player this year. You're gonna see a lot more of him. And then obviously Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox. They also have Javon Hargrave, who's still gonna make an impact. And then they drafted Milton Williams, who I like a lot. So the defensive line is still gonna be the Achilles heel of this team. And then obviously the trenches too with the offensive line. If it stays healthy though, they got a lot of aging guys. If it doesn't stay healthy, it's going to fall apart completely because the left side is really unproven. So the most confident is in the trenches as always. I really, I like Darius Slay in this new defense. This defense can be covered too. They signed Anthony Harris as a free agent. When Ronnie McLeod's back, it's going to be 2 safeties over the top, which you'll never see that in Philly with James Schwartz. Everybody was on an island. They would have just a guy off the street play corner.
Yep. Hey, we was running. I was all game.
Don't run an island.
All game.
Island versus everybody in this division that has nothing. That's not going to happen anymore. Anthony Harris and Ronnie McLeod are going to get safety support over the top. Even if, the quarterback too is a huge question mark on this team still. But I like what this scheme's going to do. I think Darius Slay is, Xavier Rhodes had a huge career rejuvenation last year in Indianapolis, and Jonathan Gannon, the Eagles' new defensive coordinator, was singled out for the reason why by Chris Ballard. So I think Darius Slay is going to have a huge bounce back year with Jonathan Gannon. If you can get one corner spot down, that's a huge, huge relief, especially in Philly. I mean, Darius Slay was good last year, but he wasn't great. He could be better, and he wasn't put in the best position to succeed either. So I'm confident, a little bit more confident in Darius Slay than I was before. And then, I really think Miles Sanders is going to go off in this system. This system is ready for, the rushing attack to really go off. And I think he's going to find a lot of lanes that, it wasn't really happening with Doug Peterson because Doug Peterson had no pulse for balancing the offense. He was more pass happy than he was run happy. And I think it's going to be a lot more balanced this year. So I think Miles Sanders is potentially a Pro Bowler. So that's what I'm confident about. But I mean, that's, again, you're saying running back and then you're saying trenches and then you're talking about like an aging corner. And not very exciting. Not really something to get these super hype about. But again, this team is all about a wait and see approach. To wait and see what we have in such unproven commodities, and then we'll move forward with them after an evaluation year this year. And then we have the 3 first-round picks to lean on. So we'll see. But that's probably what I'm confident about the most.
They front seven's still a little stout, man. Dang, I forgot about that, bro. I forgot about a couple of them pieces, man.
That ain't gone nowhere. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I
that
definitely.
could win you some games. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
The second question actually
tell you
stemmed
right now,
from Kerrigan. So, go ahead. Yep.
I'll tell you right now, I can't. No team in the NFC East has won the division back to back since 2004, when the Eagles won it from 2001, 2004. Washington really does have the best chance to do so. This team did go.
All right, Connor, I was with you for a while. I wouldn't say the best chance, but
terrible day to wear a Dallas Cowboys shirt.
Oh, no, it's not terrible. It's only
they did go toe to toe with the Super Bowl chance with Taylor Heineke. I mean, they did go toe to toe with the Super Bowl chance with Taylor Heineke. They got Fitzpatrick, who I agree, I think he is the better suited there. And you're right. I mean, he doesn't have to keep looking over his shoulder to think I have to do a bad play. I'm about to be benched. That's must be a relief. If Dallas had the defense, I would say something, but I mean, they went from Mike Nolan to Dan Quinn. I don't really know what kind of improvement that is. But besides the offense,
that's an improvement in itself.
Hey, when the bar is that low, you know what I'm saying?
That's an improvement in itself.
You can only go butt up, right?
Right.
Exactly.
That man McCarthy said. That man McCarthy said, "Look, man, Nolan, I know you ain't been around for 6 years, but I need you, bro. I need you to coach these guys."
I don't know how you watched that Cowboys and Falcons game last year and think I would want that guy as my defensive coordinator, that guy that got fired as a head coach.
Speaking of defense, Connor, I just want to ask you this real quick, because you touched on it for a second with the Eagles defense leaving their corners on islands. What do you think the purpose of that was? Like, if I see my corners out there, even if I'm one of them corners, I'm be like, bro, I need help. Like bro, I need safety over something.
I don't think Jim Schwartz is a good enough defensive coordinator to do in coverage wise, and I don't think he had enough support in that factor as well, because they were going through DB coaches every couple of years. Again, they were always one of the best teams in terms of pressure, but they were always one of the worst in terms of coverage under Jim Schwartz's tenure, and it was always because he's putting corners on islands. I think when you put a corner on an island, you have more options to blitz the safety, and they always played one safety back and played Malcolm Jenkins around the line of scrimmage to have him as an extra blitzer. So really, you're just taking away from your secondary, and that's what Jim Schwartz's scheme was all about. That's going to change now. So that's not going to be anything like that now. But I mean, yeah, it was dog food. I mean, even when Philly Davis, before Jim Schwartz was here, they was doing the same thing where he's leaving corners on island because he wanted to have the safety around the line of scrimmage. They just didn't have enough talent. That's the thing. The Eagles didn't have enough talent to have corners on an island. You have to have Richard Sherman, Darrell Revis, the top guys in this game to consistently throw guys on an island.
Had safety over top. Shoot.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you got to be Deion Sanders day in and day out. But it was a joke though. I mean, Tom Brady did put up 500 in that Super Bowl.
Yeah, he did.
Yes, he did.
Right. So obviously we know, Connor, you got to go ahead and get up out of here, and I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to wrap some Philadelphia Eagles with you, man. Let the people know how they can find you, how they can reach you, how they can hear from you, see from you, whatever. Let the people know what you got going on, boss.
All right, you can find my work at Conor Myles SI on Twitter. Cover the Eagle Maven for Sports Illustrated. SI.com/NFL/Eagles for all your up-to-date news on the Philadelphia Eagles. And obviously, like you said earlier, co-host of the Eagles Unfiltered podcast. You can find that wherever you get podcasts. I appreciate you guys having me on. It was fun to rap and not talk about the Eagles for once, talk about the whole entire division. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Hopefully we can catch you on during the season soon, man. I'll talk to you, boss.
I appreciate you for sure, man.
All right, I'll talk to you all soon.
All right. So fellas, I don't know if you guys seen it on the live stream, but when RJ hopped in here, my boy, matter of fact, there you go, my boy Rick started smiling, man. He got the shirt on and everything too.
Hey,
RJ.
man, I've been following my boy RJ for a little minute, man. So I can't wait to hear.
So for those who are listening to the podcast version, RJ Ochoa just hopped in the stream with us. Again, he does cover the Dallas Cowboys for SB Nation. And RJ, appreciate you giving us your time, boss, man. How are you feeling today?
I'm doing well, guys. Good to be with you. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. The Cowboys are at training camp, so it's been a really long off season. So it's nice to kind of feel a little bit normal now.
It is, and it's kind of crazy because when we talk about the training camp stuff, right, y'all, the finals just ended yesterday. Like the finals just ended, and we're here in football, so it's like it's a perfect transition. Now I didn't expect Milwaukee to, I'm just saying, handle them like that, go 4-2. I was expecting a game 7 at least, but I mean, it is what it is. I think who's the 2 teams that's actually in training camp this week? It's 2 teams. I don't remember.
It's the Cowboys and the Steelers.
It is
playing in the
Cowboys.
Hall of Fame game.
We started today, baby.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Oxnard, baby. You know we had with it.
So before we get to RJ right quick, I did want to get one more thing with not one more thing, but more so another question following the roster thing. We talked about the quarterback for a second, right, Jalen? When I don't know where that came from, what that noise is, but that's you, Rick.
Nah, Nick muted. I mean,
yeah, Nick muted. Anyway. We talked about the quarterback position in a sense, but when you're talking about how the season plays out for Washington in terms of wins and losses, to what degree is that man Ryan Fitzpatrick going to play a role in that? Is he going to be like that contributor, like the main contributor, or is he going to be that guy where it's like, you just hope he keeps the ship afloat? Like all he needs to do is be average, and then we'll keep it. You know what I'm saying? We can get like 9-10 wins.
What I can tell you, and what I can tell you for sure, is he's going to give you the best quarterback play we've had since 2017, right?
Okay.
So I don't know if he's going to be the biggest contributor to winning, because we do have that defense that is highly acclaimed, and we do project a lot of big things from that defense. But I do think that you can, like we were just talking about with the Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator situation, you can only go but up with the quarterback play we've had since 2018. Like you said, we've had 5 quarterbacks in the Ron Rivera era that started at the beginning of 2020. So I don't know if he's going to be the biggest contributor, but I will say he'll give you the best quarterback play we've had in a long, long time.
Okay. All right. I 4 years. Kirk was, what I'm saying, I guess it was the best era, what I'm saying, that we had in terms of statistical production. So I can't disagree with you on that, boss. RJ. So Dallas had quite the 2020 season, right? When Dak was around, a casual football fan would tell you, that the offense with the numbers he had, and the offense that the numbers was just getting general and put up, like they were an elite offense, right? When he got hurt, essentially everything went to shit. Just keeping the buck. Everything went bad, so it seems. But for you, person who's covering the team, what is the truth about the few games that Dak played prior to his injury? How good was that offense under Mike McCarthy?
So this is a really great question, honestly, because this whole offseason, and I'm a huge Dak fan, huge Dak stan, have been from day one, have been, chirping for him to get paid for 2.5 years now. And so this take or this idea is really kind of counter culture to that. But a lot of Cowboys fans love to talk about how he was on pace for 6,000 yards and 50 touchdowns. And that was like, when you inject logic and rationale and practicality, that wasn't going to happen. Like I realized he was putting up ridiculous numbers, but there would have been some sort of regression to the mean just over the course of time. I still certainly believe he would have had a great statistical season, but I mean, I don't know that I don't believe he would have put up that kind of season. And so, I mean, you play a different kind of football when your offense is really good, right? You can take more chances. You're more aggressive on offense, and that can hurt your defense. And I think we saw the Cowboys defense stabilize a little bit, over the second half of the season after Thanksgiving, and a lot of that had to do with the fact that they played some lower level quarterbacks. They played Cincinnati and San Francisco. They played the Eagles with Jalen Hurts, and things kind of picked up for them. And so the law of averages kind of worked itself out. But I do think that they're an elite offense with Dak, and that's who they were. And I think they were just kind of scratching the surface of that. We talk so much about the Buccaneers and how they're bringing back all 22 starters from the Super Bowl. The Cowboys are bringing back all 11 intended offensive starters from last year. Lyle Collins didn't start at all last season, and that's his own issue, and is seemingly fixed. But I think that they're more than just like this offense that is great on paper, and I think they proved that. They proved like kind of proof of concept. That's kind of the only thing I really took away from the 4.5 games he played. We really didn't get to see CeeDee Lamb shine, and that's why like the offseason really has felt like it began that day in October when he got hurt, and so. In many ways, it feels like they're trying to get back to that, but it's not like they were really great. They were just kind of figuring themselves out. I think sometimes we see that in the NFL. Teams take until mid-October to kind of, find their true identity. and it felt like the Cowboys were, like, when you're grilling and like the grill's finally hot. Like, that's what it felt like, when he got hurt ultimately. But, at that point, it's like you looked and all your food was spoiled and you just couldn't do anything.
Hey, Rick, he said, when you're grilling and stuff, because he don't know you're talking to a grill master. So, you know what I'm saying? I know these things. You know what I'm saying? It's second nature to me. But
it hurt me when Dak failed. I ain't even want to watch football no more, bro. It hurt me so much because I just knew. I knew it was gonna be good, man. But it's all good.
So let me ask you right quick. This is a tough question, but I think it's fair. All right. But I'm gonna get your opinion on it. Is it too early to have Mike McCarthy on the hot seat? And the reason why I ask this is because I'm not gonna lie to you. And we actually talked about it briefly, like when you hopped on. The decision to bring in Mike Nolan automatically takes, like, the leash that you had, it shortens it, because there is no way in hell out of all the people that you bring aboard to start your tenure as a Dallas Cowboy coach, you say I'm gonna bring in a guy. And no matter how long I've known him, he hasn't been in the league in 6 years or 5 years, and that'll still be okay. And it went terrible. Like, it was awful, historically awful. So I don't know where he's at in Europe, in Dallas Cowboys world, but I want to get your opinion on that. Is it fair to have him on the hot seat? And where are you at with this one?
I certainly understand the hesitation and the concern, and I think that Mike McCarthy's probably the thing he's most guilty of is I think there was a little bit of hubris, a little bit of arrogance last season. Obviously, he's a head coach who's accomplished a lot in the NFL. And so he, and I think we see that a lot too, is like when these guys who have done a lot, kind of get questioned or have their backs up against a wall, they kind of bark back or they bite back. And I think we kind of saw that. Mike, I think, something that doesn't get talked about enough is in his introductory press conference, the Cowboys are unveiling him as the head coach. Mike McCarthy, said that, one of the reasons the Cowboys hired him literally was because he said everybody knows he built his barn in Wisconsin. He watched all the tape and film from 2019. Yeah. And he said, oh, well, I just said that to get the job, and those things are like, yeah, that's fine. You want to make that joke to your buddies, your pals, you're at the bar or whatever, you're in a close circle, fine. But like he lacks that tact. And I think that, to be fair to him, and the pandemic obviously impacted everybody. That's not specific to Mike McCarthy. But, Mike McCarthy spent an entire year planning what he was going to do, right? Like he spent an entire year, like, when I get back, this I'm going to handle minicamp. This I'm going to handle rookie minicamp. So I'm going to handle OTAs and, the preseason and everything. And like day 6, that's all out the window for him. And so, I kind of understand him trying to lean on some, things he did in the past. The Mike Nolan thing's impossible to defend, right? Like, and you're right. Like, it's it's almost like he had a get out of jail free card. He gets out of jail on Monopoly, and then like rolls the dice and goes right back to jail. So that's really tough, and that's the kind of hubris that I think he really kind of had, in some of the decisions that he made. But, so you factor in the pandemic, you factor in losing Dak Prescott, you factor in Lyle Collins never a part of the plan for the season, you factor in Tyron Smith lost after the second week of the season, you factor in, obviously, the number of defensive injuries, although, again, a lot of Mike Nolan's issues were Mike Nolan's. And I've said this several times on some of our shows, and I really hate bringing it up because we're talking about football, and that's ultimately what matters. But Mike McCarthy also, endured a lot of personal loss. I mean, I can't speak for him personally, but Ted Thompson, longtime Green Bay Packers executive, passed away. Kevin Green, one of the greatest players in pro football history, and was on Mike McCarthy's staff in Green Bay when they won the Super Bowl, passed away. Obviously, the Cowboys dealt with their own tragedy, and so I wouldn't blame him for being down and for being out, and so I'm willing to give him a second chance. But to your point, it's a little bit of a less strong or a little bit of a shakier second chance, and I think most people get because of the decisions he made, like Mike Nolan. But I do think he did some things. Some things the Cowboys were analytically sound in ways they weren't under Jason Garrett, and he did promise that, and he did kind of deliver there.
Ooh,
a common question I've been asked quarters from different teams when they come on is, did they grow up that? I found the team that they're actually covering, but judging by those multiple Cowboy helmets you got in the background, I think that already answers my question. But And still out, I just wanted to ask about Michael Parsons. So Dallas drafts Michael Parsons with their first round pick, but you all have still have Van Dash and Jalen Smith on the roster. I'm just curious to know if you have any insight or intel about how they're going to handle that linebacker position as far as who's going to play where.
But before you
Yeah, I
answer
mean,
right quick, I just have to emphasize how much of a troll Montel is, fellas. If y'all go to the chat, see this, look at the Twitch chat and just see this man trolling. What's good, Montel? Appreciate you checking in for us. But yeah, he's just talking shit about the Cowboys with the broomsticks. That's all. But yeah, I just had to get that out there, man. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. And you know, I mean, they deserve that kind of mockery, right? Like they do. I mean, you know, they're
sweet,
valuable.
Jay. Not no sweet.
Yeah, but I mean, they're a valuable team. You know, they're at the center of attention, but like they suck. I mean, like, and that's okay. You know, like we're all here to tell us great. And, you know, like, and I think the context of how they suck is important, but like the Micah Parsons thing, I'm super pumped about Micah Parsons. Very excited. Certainly think he can be a revolutionary player, hopefully for the defense. He's obviously an incredible athlete. However, I mean, he's proof of their failures at that position, right? Like, I mean, you know, Sean Lee was an incredible linebacker for them, just kind of a prisoner of his own body. Leighton Vander Esch, I mean, again, you know, rooting for Leighton, I would love to see him prove everybody wrong, but it was well known. It was well documented that he had neck issues at Boise State. And the Cowboys, you know, thought, hey, it'll work out. You know, they spent a first-round pick on him, and lo and behold, it didn't work out. Jalen Smith obviously entered the NFL coming out of college with his own injury situation, and God bless him. The fact that Jalen, you know, is somebody we can, you know, debate about is a testament to his own will and drive, and I give him all the credit in the world for that. But the Cowboys doubled down on that mistake, and they have also like placated it. Jalen's biggest flaws that any Cowboys fan will tell you is who he is in front of a camera. And the Cowboys elevate him and give him more opportunities for those types of things. And so,
swipe, bro, I can't stand it, bro.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating, but they, you know, they throw fire on that. And so Micah Parsons is awesome. And to the Cowboys' defense, they did get sniped. I mean, obviously, Patrick Surtain and J.C. Horn went the 2 picks before them and kind of, you know, shook up their draft plans. And they did trade back. They did pick up an extra pick. So I do think that they made lemonade out of lemons on draft night. But ultimately, you know, if you're spending another first-round pick, what was a top 10 pick? I know it was 12th overall, but on the linebacker position, just 3 years after you spend a first-round pick at that spot, like, you're not good at this. And that's frustrating. It's exciting what Micah can offer, but it speaks to how poorly they build things. I mean, a lot of things they've done, they've gotten right, but a lot of things they just can't get. And building a strong or even competent defense is one of them.
So, RJ, with that, go ahead, Mo. Oh, well, with that said, how do you think we're gonna like set up our linebacker play this year? I mean, with all these pieces on the field. I mean, of course, I got Neal at safety, and then
I was trying to get to it. That's what I was saying. I was asking the same question kind of too. How you think the lineup will look?
Yeah. What do you think the lineup gonna look like?
I mean, I think that they'll play Micah, kind of like Jalen. Micah's their new dude, right? Like that they give whatever they want. Like, you want number 11? We got you. We'll take care of Cedric Wilson. You know what I mean? Like, you want to be, you know, the main guy? Like, we got you. Like, so they're going to give Micah and rightfully so, every opportunity, you know, to succeed. And so I think Micah's their starting middle linebacker for most of the season. Maybe not week 1. You know, he's a rookie, whatever. We'll see. But I think that's his job. I think that Jalen might be used in some pass rush situation. I think he can excel there. I think when you take out having to think as much, having to cover like a linebacker like Micah can or like Jabril Cox can, I think his strength is a little bit more obvious and his weaknesses are a little bit less noticeable. But yeah, I think I think it could be the Micah Keanu Neal show. I think it could be Micah Leighton Vander Esch. I think that extra linebacker spot is not. I'm not as sold on anybody specifically, but I do think that we'll see a healthy dose of Keanu Neal, of Jabril Cox before the season is over. I think that all these guys will just kind of play. If football truly is a meritocracy, Leighton and Jalen off the field. But again, the Cowboys have given them a lot of opportunities before, so it's hard to see them kind of yanking them off, just now because it's 2021.
So before I get to you, Jalen, I want to throw it to Nick for those who are watching and those who are listening. Nick has been here the whole time. He's driving to Atlanta, so he's a little occupied. But I'm gonna give him the floor right quick, Nick. If you can hear me, man, what is this? How do you feel about the Cowboys situation, the linebacker situation, as RJ explained it, but also like the drafting ability too, or lack thereof, I guess, perception.
I think our linebacker room is packed with a lot of talent. I do believe Jalen Smith is more of a pass rusher. I don't know. I mean, he's undersized for, somebody just put their hand in the dirt. But I believe trying to get him a lot of blitz packages, he can, create a lot of havoc. I do love Jabril Cox to be that slot linebacker, like hybrid type. But I do have a question about the DB room. How do you feel about our young corners, and how do you feel about the latter part of the draft after Mike Parsons? Kelvin Joseph, Nashawn Wright, big guy out of Kentucky, D tackle. How do you feel about those guys?
I mean, Kelvin Joseph was obviously their second round pick, and that was okay, we didn't get Surtain, we didn't get Horn, but we got Micah and we got Kelvin Joseph. And so there's a lot of hope, riding on Kelvin Joseph. We didn't really see much of him in minicamp. And so I think he's probably the rookie, and this includes Micah, who if he plays really well, could change the defense the most, just because the Cowboys need to help the most in the secondary. That's clearly the weakest part of their defense. And so, but he's just such a question mark right now. And Nashawn Wright really impressed in minicamp. So he was the guy that nobody knew who he was when they drafted him. So that's nice. That's optimistic. I mean, Quentin Bohanna is obviously awesome. It was great to see the Cowboys draft kind of a true one tech, kind of that trash can in the middle, run stopper. They really haven't prioritized that position. Ultimately their draft, I think it was basic. To me, it felt like, like whenever there's like a disaster coming and people go to the grocery store and they you're not getting like fancy crap. You're getting like, toilet paper and water and crackers.
Who the hell took all the toilet paper? God damn it.
I got toilet paper for $25.
Yeah, that's what the draft was. Like, these were the bare necessities, and so hopefully they transitioned into luxury soon enough.
So like RJ, I watched the press conference today that Dallas had, their opening, right? And Jerry Jones and them was talking about how they are behind our secondary. Like, they, our veterans, we got strong veterans. They like who they got, in the draft and this, that, and the third. But if the opportunity presents itself, opportunity presents itself during the season, they might pick up somebody else. But why do you think they're so gun-ho behind what they have right now in the secondary? It's specifically the vets from last year. I mean, I guess they're talking about, Brown and Diggs, but I didn't see a lot last year to be like, 100% confident in them, but they sounded way more confident than I was.
Yeah, I mean, I think my honest answer is it was a press conference, and they just want to like make us believe that they're confident. Like, there's no, and they got sniped, right? Like, they can lie. Like, Micah's awesome, and I really am excited to watch him. But they can lie and say that was the plan all along, that they really wanted Micah, whatever.
Yeah,
Patrick Surtain, J.C. Horn, that was the plan, right? That one of them were going to be there. Every mock we all read or did or whatever had at least one of them making it to 10. And so, yeah, again, I think they deserve credit for kind of, pivoting from that in the moment and getting another third-round pick out of it. But, I mean, I think they're just overcompensating, like, publicly, because they want people to believe. They don't want everyone to think that the plan failed and they're kind of, trying to go along. Because, again, like, Trayvon Diggs is awesome. Really pumped about him in year 2. He is potentially a legit bona fide superstar. Outside of him, okay, what do you got? You've got Anthony Brown. All due respect, but that doesn't excite me. You got Jordan Lewis, who has had some great moments, but doesn't excite me. Right. You've got now Kelvin Joseph, a question mark. You've got Nashawn Wright. You've got Reggie Robinson, who you drafted last year. You can't even figure out where to play him. I mean, so you've got all these. It's just a hodgepodge of things, and so I respect them trying to sell it, but I don't know anyone that, is truly totally buying that they believe in what they're doing, but they still have not added a veteran. And obviously, before the last 10 days or so, Richard Sherman made a lot of sense, the Dan Quinn connection, somebody like that. But, they are very stingy. They do have an open roster spot at the time we're talking. I know you mentioned this is a podcast too, So I mean, anything could always change. But I mean, if they wanted to add anywhere with that roster spot, getting a stable veteran corner certainly wouldn't hurt.
We need vets, man. We lack it. We lack it on defense, 100%.
So Jalen, obviously Dallas is starting training camp this week, and Washington starts next week. This is for both you, Jalen, and you, RJ. But what position battles are you all paying attention to when training camp comes? Like, what is that one area or multiple? It could be multiple, but what are the ones that you're paying attention to as training camp comes and now that we're all settled and stuff like that?
All right, cool. So I know people don't tune in to talk about a lot of interior line play, but like we talked about earlier, we filled a lot of the roster holes and things like that. But the biggest, most impactful training camp battle I see is at the left guard position. And it's a kind of like a three-headed battle between Eric Flowers, Wes Schweitzer, and Sadiq Charles. Eric Flowers is somebody who was actually pretty good when we transitioned in 2019.
It's only up. It's only up for Eric Flowers.
Yeah. So he was good when he played in the Bill Callahan system in 2019. He went to Miami, kind of had a regression, and he got traded back. And he is under a new blocking scheme, under a new regime, and a new coaching staff. So I don't know how that'll go. But I actually thought he rivaled some of Brandon Scherf's play in 2019. Now, moving on to Wes Schweitzer, he's actually somebody that surprised me. I was watching a lot of his tape when we signed him. I didn't think he was a good player with the Atlanta Falcons. And I think that was kind of because they were transitioning to the power run scheme after Kyle Shanahan had left from that outside zone scheme. And, up here in Washington, we kind of have more a comparable scheme to that outside zone scheme with Scott Turner. So when he actually filled in and replaced Wes Martin, he was actually pretty good for us in 2020. And if you look at some of his workout videos, he's a freak of an athlete. He's rock climbing walls at like 6'5", 340 pounds. I saw him like deadlift like 800 pounds the other day. And then Sadiq Charles.
He's just a weirdo. That's what it is.
Hey, Ryan had 800 on the fly yesterday, bro. Ryan had 800 on the fly yesterday, bro.
No, sorry.
And then Sadiq Charles is actually the guy that I'm rooting for. Just watching SEC ball, he was a left tackle at LSU, and he shut down some of the premier edge rushers. And then, when he was projected to go into the NFL, there were some projections of him playing guard because he has shorter arms and a shorter wingspan. But like I said, he shut down some good players like Terrell Hall from Alabama, Darrell Taylor from Tennessee. And he has like an elite athletic profile for somebody at that guard position. So other than that, there is a battle for like the back, like the last roster spot for the wide receiver position. I personally think Washington has some leeway to do something like keep 7 receivers just because of what Curtis Samuel offers coming out of the backfield. So whether you want to keep 2 big body receivers like Cam Sims and AGG, this is the same regime that spent a 4th round pick on Antonio Gandy-Golden last year for him to practically not do much.
Nothing.
So outside of the left guard position, nothing. Yeah, nothing at all. Outside of the left guard and the back half of the wide receiver room, I honestly want to see what we do at linebacker, that 3rd linebacker spot. I think that Jamin Davis and Cole Holcomb have those locked up, but I do not want to see John Bostic on the field again. Like, I don't. Yes, I do not want to see John Bostic. I do not want to see. Like, if you're a fan of good defensive football, you don't even have to know a lot about. You're not going to like John Bostic. He's a middle linebacker that's running around blocks to make a play. Like, I can't do it with John Bostic. I'm sorry. I know we're supposed to be politically correct, but I can't do it.
Look, you on our show. Be as honest as you want to.
I can't do it with him. But like I actually think he's a potential candidate for somebody to be like a surprise cut. Because if you can remember, in a lot of the press conferences from Ron and Coach Del Rio last year, one of the trends was they were consistently trashing the linebacker play. They were like, our line is making plays, they're opening up gaps, and then our linebackers are just overflowing the hole. That was like week in and week out. And that's just something prevalent in my mind. And I saw that when you see them bringing in guys like David Mayo and Jared Norris, who they have a rapport with, I think that John Bostic might be up for a potential surprise cut come in the training camp. So
Actually,
those are the three
I like
positions
that
that
one.
I'm looking for as far as a training camp battle.
I like that surprise cut. I ain't gonna lie to you. I disagree with Bostic, like, because I mean, it can get worse. We've seen worse, but I don't disagree with your surprise cut thing. That's actually something to look forward to, especially if Khalid can step up and they can find somebody under him that's younger and athletic, more athletic. So
Especially. Oh, sorry to cut you off, but especially when they brought in Jamin and the first place they placed him was middle linebacker. I thought he was somebody that'll sell in like this weak side linebacker position, covering tight ends and things like that in coverage. But the first place they wanted to plan him is at middle linebacker, so that's telling you something. And like I said, if he can man that middle linebacker role, we have Khalid playing that weak side role. That's a lot of speed at linebacker.
RJ, where you at with it? What's going on with Dallas? What's the position battles that you're paying attention to?
First of all, John Bostic had the cheapest hit in the NFL last year.
Oh man, that was crazy.
Get that on the record.
That was crazy.
For sure, it was.
But shout out to the Cowboys offensive line that didn't go protect Andy Dalton at all. But anyway, Cowboys. Yeah, I mentioned. I mean, they're returning a lot of starters, all their starters on offense. So like, there's not a spot that really like jumps out to me there. The spot that a lot of people have spoken about is tight end. Obviously, Blake Jarwin got hurt in week 1 last year. Dalton Schultz played really admirably, certainly for filling in for Jarwin and for doing so with Dalton. So, Dalton Schultz is a better blocker than Blake Jarwin. And a lot of times, ultimately, that's kind of the difference. And so maybe that's enough. But it's, as interesting as it is, it's not like spicy. Like, it's not like a training camp battle, because they're both really good players. They're both going to help this team. I do think, there's a lot of chatter, especially given the way last season went, about QB2, who's going to be this team's backup quarterback, because I don't think anybody has any real faith in Garrett Gilbert. Nobody has any faith in Cooper Rush, and Ben DiNucci obviously got a raw deal last year. And the preseason will help for them to have a preseason and have opportunities to play. That's somebody who, I think is maybe – I think it's possible the backup quarterback for the Cowboys this season is somebody who's in a different camp right now, somebody who gets cut, a veteran who just doesn't stick around, can't make his team because there's too many bodies or whatever. But that's maybe, honestly, I know that's boring, but that might be the heaviest battle on offense. And on defense, I mean, we talked about the linebacker position, but some of that isn't really a battle because, again, the Cowboys are going to give the snaps to who they want to give them to. I think, it's not really a battle, but I am interested to see how they utilize players in the secondary, just because we talked about they don't seemingly have a lot of options. This is a roster that is kind of not a carbon copy, but very similar to what it was last year. And so for that reason, there aren't a lot of new things. There's just a lot of all the old things have to be much better. And there aren't a lot of options to come in and be better, except for like the Micah Parsonses of the world. And so I think it's a group that's supposed to be improved by quantity. And we hope that that's the case, obviously, because if it isn't, it's going to be another long year.
So speaking of, we got the old things needed to improve. Now I'm gonna ask you this question. And we are wrapping up, so I appreciate everybody for their time and everybody who tuned in and you all, RJ and Jalen. Speaking of old things that gotta improve, man. What's up with your boy Zeke? I'm not going. I personally feel like he's not washed.
I'm glad this is on the table.
I don't feel like he's washed, right?
Know why that's
and there's a perception from a lot of people because he statistically regressed, and they think all of a sudden he's done because of 1,000 fumbles in 1 year. I don't think that's the case. I think that was a bad year. I think that was a mental thing, a mental slip up. But what I will ask you, RJ, is what is the perception from your perspective, but also like what the hell are people seeing that makes them, or to make them even think that? I think he's still one of the top 10 backs in the league, personally speaking.
So, people used to say, like, I feel like people don't say this anymore, but like people used to say that the most popular guy on an NFL roster for fans was like the backup quarterback, right? Like, it's like anytime like the starter threw an interception, people would like scream for the backup. The most popular guy for Cowboys fans is Tony Pollard. Because I think like he's the forbidden fruit. Like he's the he could be so much better. He's so much faster. He's so much more dynamic. Like imagine him in this offense. Like that's kind of the idea that everybody holds in their mind. There are a lot of Cowboys fans who do still cape for Zeke, who think he's the best running back in the NFL, who think he's going to lead the league in rushing. I'm not one of them. I don't think Zeke is washed, but I do think he's not the player he was his rookie year, just because he was this incredible player that year. I think he's probably somewhere around the 6th or 7th best running back in the NFL. But the problem is he's paid like the best, and that that leads to the conversation. And so he fumbled the ball 6 times last year, and that's tough. I mean, he didn't break 1,000 yards, and that's a standard people hold you to. He had a career lows in almost every statistical category. People used to debate, like, this was a real thing. People used to talk about, like, is Dak only Dak because of Zeke, or is he really this great quarterback? And Zeke had an opportunity last year, and the offensive line was bad, and all this stuff was bad. But to really prove, like, hey, Stephen Jones said he's the straw that stirs the drink. There was no stirring last year. And all the people that defend Zeke talk about, well, the offensive line was bad and the quarterback was bad. It's like, yeah, that's why you don't pay that position, because it's so dependent on so many other factors. So I think that Zeke is a really good player. I think he's probably going to be like a great value for people in fantasy, because I do think he's fallen beneath the likes of Alvin Kamara and Christian McCaffrey. I think people even think like Aaron Jones is better than him. I can't argue against that right now. This is a good year for Zeke, and I do want to see Tony Pollard utilized more. I mean, just for the good of the offense and the good of the team. And I do think that I think that at the end of the season, people will be saying, "Oh, look, Zeke shut y'all up," like talking to all the haters. And the reason for that is the expectation for Zeke right now is the lowest it has ever been. I mean, the expectation has always been like lead the league in rushing, do the feed me, do the crop top, do the hurdles. Like, that has always been the expectation. But now, like, there are people who think he's washed. So if he's just good, he will beat what some expectations are. And the power of how that's viewed psychologically, I think, goes a long way in terms of how people view him. But that's kind of where he's at. It's a complicated answer, but it's always a complicated situation with the Cowboys.
Hey, RJ, to go back to your point about people getting paid, and not really, I guess expectations being raised. I want to go back to the position battles real quick, because I just feel like we haven't touched on our interior D-line in a very long time. I just, we always at the back end when it comes to rushing, and DeMarcus Lawrence caught this huge contract. And I used to be one of the people who used to defend him a lot, because I knew what he was capable of. But when I did see him not show up, it was more so me just using, pressures, double teams, this, that, and the third. But I still have expectations for him, regardless if you're getting double teams, because you're getting paid to be the best. You say you're the best, so show it to me. What do you think about our interior D-line? What do you think about DeMarcus Lawrence? The
interior, I mean, I'm hopeful that Brent Urban can be a great free agent signing. And, I think everybody's hopeful Neville Gallimore takes a step in year 2. And I thought Tristan Hill played somewhat well last year before he got hurt too. There's just hope. That's really all there is. But that's all there's been. The Cowboys refuse to address the interior of the defensive line, despite what everybody else in the NFL does. And that's a really frustrating thing. DeMarcus Lawrence, I still go to bat for him. I still use all the pressures and the double teams and everything. But because I think it's difficult, you're right, because he got paid. And so, like, people expect 15 sacks a year. But if anybody has come close, besides Amari Cooper, I guess, and the offensive linemen that have been paid, but if anybody's come close to justifying their payday, it's been him. He's come, and I think he is by far the best player on that defense. He's the guy. They all talk a lot, but he is the guy who walks most of all the talkers, if that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, he talks hot boys and everything like that, but he does back it up. There's a lot of talkers who don't walk at all. I think he's in an interesting spot this year because Tyrone Crawford's always kind of been the emotional leader for them. So with him gone, I'm really excited to see him kind of take the reins and be this is his defense, and I want to see him act like that.
All right. So fellas,
seems like we're gonna be at the back end of rushing again.
So before last thing, y'all, you could give a statement or just where you think you guys finish in the division, but how do you all see yourself stacking up in the NFC East? Jalen, you go ahead and get this one going. Where do you have Washington stacking up in the division?
I think we can potentially win the division. I don't think we're going to necessarily run away with it. Like I said, we won it last year. I know the schedule is really hard this year. We play a lot of elite quarterbacks, and I do want to mention that. But I think that the quarterback play is going to be so exponentially better than what we had last year that I think that we're going to win a division. I do think like the Giants may be the second best team in the division. Sorry, sorry for anybody that disagrees with me. I'm sorry.
It's
but
crazy.
you know,
I wanted to talk Giants talk, but my man not here. You feel me? So we, I ain't gonna get into it.
But the reason I say that is because our biggest question mark is their biggest question mark. They're built similarly to us along the defensive line, and they brought in some playmakers as well. So I think that we're going to narrowly edge out the Giants and repeat as NFC East champions.
Okay. RJ, what about the Cowboys? How do you have them stacking up in the NFC East?
I think their schedule is really friendly in a lot of ways. I mean, it starts off rough. They get Tampa and the Chargers, and then, obviously that's hard. And if they were 0-2, we're going to hear a million times about the percentage of teams who fall to 0-2, who make the playoffs. It's really low. But after that, I mean, they get the Eagles. I mean, and if you go by quarterbacks, like to your point, Jalen, I mean, about great quarterbacks, if you go by quarterbacks, they get Jalen Hurts, Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones. I don't know if we think Mac Jones is starting for New England by week 6. After the bye, they get Kirk Cousins. They get Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater. They get Matt Ryan and Patrick Mahomes back-to-back. That's tough. They get Derek Carr on Thanksgiving. I don't think any of us believe in that. They get, I don't know if it's Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston after Thanksgiving, but, it's a friendly schedule in that sense. And I think, when we've talked about Washington and all of our division, talk, I think Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to give us some great memes, some great moments. There's going to be a couple of times where he pulls something crazy off, and he's going to be the talk of the town. He's going to have like an amazing press conference moment. But, I mean, what we've seen from him is the bottom does come out eventually. And I think, to Washington's detriment, their last 5 games are against the NFC East. And, Ryan Fitzpatrick's strength is not in the month of December. And so if Ryan Fitzpatrick at that point has fallen apart or is not great or whatever, I mean, I just don't know how you survive. I think that was really crummy that the NFL scheduled the Washington football team scheduled that way. In 4 weeks straight, they played Dallas, Philly, and that's just that's dumb. Nobody wants that.
Makes no sense.
5 straight division games
at the end of the season too. That's crazy.
It's dumb. I mean, it really truly is. It's dumb when you play any team twice in 3 weeks, but Washington does it back to back with Dallas and Philly. And so, I mean, and because if you have an injury at that time, like it's stupid how it's going to ruin your season that way. And so, I think Dallas is just, I think that if we ranked the best things in the division, if we took every offense and every defense and whatever, I think the best thing is Dallas's offense, and I think the second best thing is Washington's defense. This is an offensive-driven league, and so offenses generally win out. The game's designed for offenses to win out. So I think in that sense, I think Dallas just has the edge just because of the day and age of football we're in. But if I had to bet on somebody else, I certainly would bet on Washington.
Okay. All right. So fellas, man, it's been a good hour. RJ, I definitely appreciate you hopping on for the time that you were able to join us, man. And before we get out of here, it's time for the plug talk. So everything that you all got going on, let everybody know what you got going on. So RJ, let the people know where they can find you, where they can hear you, where they can see your written work, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if you search Blogging the Boys anywhere, that we've got something going on. Obviously, bloggingtheboys.com is our central website, but we have our YouTube channel, our podcast network. We're on social media everywhere. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at RJ Ochoa. Keep it nice and straight and simple. And my Twitter's kind of a hub for everything we do. Really excited that football's here. Really, thankful you guys had me on. This was a lot of fun. Certainly looking forward to the NFC East this season and how it shakes out. And December is going to be wild because all those games are smashed in like that. It's going to be a really fun month.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you, RJ, man.
Absolutely.
No, for real, RJ. I've been following for a little minute, man. Podcast awesome. Blogging the Boys is likes that, man. Keep being great out here.
Appreciate it, man.
Jalen, where are you at with it? Let everybody know how they can find you and all that good stuff.
Definitely. Bleeding Burgundy and Gold, the Bleeding B&G podcast. We're available on all podcast platforms. Our Instagram is at Bleeding, BLEEDING BNG. Our Twitter spelling is a tad bit different. That's BLEEDIN BNG. So it's only one G in our Twitter handle. YouTube as well. You can search Bleeding Burgundy and Gold, or it's under my channel name. So you can search my name on YouTube, and all Bleeding Burgundy and Gold episodes will pop up. Like I said, I'm excited for football season, and I appreciate you guys for having me.
Copy that. Y'all heard them. Y'all know where to find them. All that good stuff, man. Again, appreciate the opportunity for talking with you all and joining the Trap or Die podcast, man. I'll be back next Tuesday with watching football talk, and then obviously the fellas will be back next Wednesday with the all 32 side of things, man. So until next time, all that good stuff. Appreciate everybody tuned in live. Montel, you are a troll, but we love you, bro. I'll let y'all, man.
Get out of here with all.